Yep.
All right, I see live now.
W7 Live, welcome to Road to the Resch. We did a what did you call it, Coach? A test run first. We went about 8 minutes and realized we hadn't gone live yet, so we're gonna reconvene. Sorry we're a few minutes late, you guys, but thanks for joining. Plan to go about 45 to 60 minutes tonight, and let me just preface it first of all by saying, everything is our opinion, right? There's no facts here, and certainly we are for all the girls, and I think everybody knows that. We're just going to talk some basketball tonight, talk about the games from last night, and then tonight, and what we can expect to see tonight going forward. With me on the call, in person with me is Jonathan Tsipis. Coach, welcome as always. And then out in the field, we've got Conor DuBoyce live from Green Bay, Notre Dame. Conor, are you there?
I'm here. You got me.
All right. And then, of course, the one, the only. It is Ed Raue coming to you via satellite from Wauwatosa, Wisconsin. Coach, how's the Wi-Fi looking over there?
We're connected. We'll go from there.
We'll go from there. Well, hey, let's start. First of all, let's start by talking about Division 5, right? I mean, and really, let's just address the elephant in the room right away, and that is Randolph and Sheboygan Lutheran. And Coach, I'm gonna start with a question just to begin with, just to put it right out there. Is tonight a possible trap game for Randolph?
Yeah, I definitely think Sheboygan Lutheran is playing great basketball, and Randolph, as they know and have kind of embraced as the number one team in Division 5, undefeated, has to understand they're going to take everybody's best shot. And obviously, taking one game at a time, I think a Sheboygan Lutheran team that's very skilled offensively. You're going to see one of the best freshmen in the state, in Abby Verhagen, who can score the ball in a lot of different ways. I think what we've seen in the first two games from Randolph, and again, last night, if you didn't watch the game, the 20-point margin, again, they went to their bench earlier knowing not only back-to-back games, but 3 games in 4 days, with the games that were postponed on Tuesday and moved to Wednesday. So, I think Randolph is in a good spot. And again, Sheboygan Lutheran, again, scoring 74 in the first round, 85-19 winner last night against Eastbrook Academy. They're playing their best basketball at the right time of the year. So, it will be a great atmosphere at Randolph here. We've seen how much the community and the students, support that. I think if you're Randolph, one of the things you've got to be able to do is got to have a little more balance. I think shooting it from the outside, and I think getting touches from Jory Bawalda almost on every trip. Coach Kaufman has emphasized that, but they have those tools. I think we've seen different people, step up. Obviously, Maddie DeVries has played really well the first 2 games. And again, different people, whether if they're not shooting it as well, they're able to set their teammates up. And again, when you get to this round, they don't have any common opponents. But again, I expect this to be a good game. And again, I think a little bit here too tilts on Randolph and that experience of being in this position last year.
Cotter, a pretty hot freshman from Sheboygan Lutheran. That's the Verhagen kid. I mean, you've seen her play. What are your thoughts on her tonight coming into Randolph?
Yeah, just a freshman, but a great pedigree with her and her older brother, Casey Verhagen, and then obviously her dad, Nick, coaches on the boys' side over at Sheboygan Lutheran. Great basketball pedigree. As Coach said, scored at multiple levels. Mishicot, when they played them earlier this year, as well as St. Mary's, and a little bit Oosburg kind of exposed maybe some of the weaknesses of a very good Sheboygan Lutheran team. So be interested to see if Randolph was able to get their hands on some of that film. I know Coach said he was going up to maybe watch that Oosburg game or the St. Mary's game. So be interested to see what happens. everything kind of goes around the Verhagen, Addie Verhagen, but then you've got a really good shooter in Rose Hahn that you just can't get going, because she will either shoot them back into the game or basically put the game away from the 3-point line.
So we're not calling Randolph and Sheboygan Lutheran our upset alert. So every division we've got one upset alert, and we kind of all agreed it was not going to be this game. We thought Randolph should be able to take care of business tonight, and when I think it's going to be closer than what people might think. I think Sheboygan Lutheran is coming off a big win, winning by such a huge margin. I think they've got good momentum coming in. The first half of the first half is going to be critical to watch. So that's that one. Now the upset alert that we picked for Division 5 is, Coach Beebe, I know you're watching, the Catholic Central Hilltoppers from Burlington. Don't call it a comeback because they never left. Catholic Central last night with a big win over number 2 Blackhawk. So they're going to come in tonight and play Argyle. Now, Argyle's the number 6 and Catholic Central's the number 7. So Catholic Central, it would be an upset. However, these two teams did play earlier in the year, and it was actually on W7. Catholic Central won that game. But tonight it's at Argyle. And, of course, we know Jen Wellnitz, the coach at Argyle, they'll put together a good plan. And, Catholic Central's going to have to bring their game.
Yeah, I think you look at it, too, and Argyle won handily, by 12 over Fall River and, put up 76 in their first game. So, again, it can be that difference. You play earlier and you're on somebody else's home floor. I think this season, except for maybe last year, is different from any other, because on any given night, you could have a kid out with COVID. Obviously, the injuries affect everybody. So, again, to see a 6 seed and a 7 seed there, vying for a sectional title, for a regional title tonight. Again, I think that we looked at that and said, again, Catholic Central had to control that tempo last night against Blackhawk, to keep it that low scoring. Can they do that same tonight? And as you mentioned, with Coach Wellnitz and all her success, obviously, at Blackhawk and then at Green Bay, does she have something that second time around that maybe she kept in her pocket and didn't show the first time they played Catholic Central?
Well, I think, the key tonight for Catholic Central is going to be the dynamic duo, as I call them, Maddie Von Rabineau and Julia Klein. Both going to need to have big games tonight. Van Rabineau's they both had really nice seasons, but going on the road tonight, they're on the road last night, so they've done it once already. No reason they can't repeat. So that is our upset alert for Division 5, Catholic Central over Argyle. Another game we want to just quickly touch on, then we're going to take a quick break and come back for D4. Oshkosh Lords and Oakfield. That one tonight, Oakfield the 2, Lords the 3. The big thing I look at there, Coach, is Oakfield's beat them twice. And, there's kind of a saying that it's tough to beat a team 3 times in a year, and Oakfield's going to try to do that tonight.
Yeah, and again, if you're Oakfield, it's the same thing. What worked well for you those first 2 times? And again, being in that situation as a coach, you're going to continue to look at that. And I think the same thing, when you look at Randolph, the game we have, they're not going to reinvent the wheel. You're not 26-0 for no reason,
right,
and try to all of a sudden do things differently in the 27th game. So again, I think so much of that is how does Lords respond? Do they take any of that negativeness from losing the 2 games, and bring that into tonight's game? It's a winner-take-all type of situation, which it wasn't in those first 2. There always was a tomorrow, and I think sometimes the team that embraces, that type of intensity and accountability to be in the moment is the team that figures out how to survive.
Absolutely. Hey, that's Division 5. Quick break. We'll come back with D4. I don't know what Connor's doing with it. It sounds like he's rolling oil barrels down the court or something. We'll be back here watching W7 Live. Welcome back to Road to the Resch on W7. Just want to mention 3 games tonight on the docket for us. So a triple header on W7 tonight. Let me see if I got that that little. Bear with me, you guys. It's coming. Oh, that's not it. There it is. So Hartford, Germantown. All these games are 7:00 starts. Hartford, Germantown. Ed Raue and Scott Raue on that one, live from G-Town. Menasha at Notre Dame, Green Bay Notre Dame. Conor DuBoyce and Joey Baudadonna live from Notre Dame on that one. And, of course, Coach Sip and I will be right here in Randolph for Sheboygan, Lutheran, Randolph. So that's your triple header tonight. Let's get back to talking about – let's get into D4. We're not doing a D4 game tonight, but we've definitely got some familiarity with Division 4. And, first and foremost, before we get into that, Connor, I want to just ask you your thoughts. I got to tell you, I was surprised, maybe not shocked, but surprised that that Mishicot lost last night to Shiocton. I mean, what's your thoughts on that game last night?
Yeah, surprised is a good word for that. I mean, shocked, considering the fact all the events surrounding the week leading up to that.
It's been a tough time for Mishicot right now.
I'm not surprised, but
yeah,
of just a weird week there in Mishicot, and you get in that game. It was a couple years ago, very similar game where we were in a dogfight with Oshkosh Lords, and right down to the wire, and shots fall, they don't, and watched the game, and Mishicot got in some foul trouble, and they're not real deep off the bench, and they just weren't able to survive the foul trouble, kind of, and Shiocton did a great job taking advantage of it, and they play on tonight against a good Mondewell team.
And that should be a really good one. We'll see if Shiocton can keep that momentum going from that big win last night over Mishicot as they take on Bondwell. We got to see Bondwell earlier this year at the Watertown tournament, so a good solid team there. Other places in Division 4 I want to just touch on. Laconia and Manitowoc Lutheran. Connor, you and I kind of batted this around earlier. Laconia, the number 1 seed, Lutheran, the number 4 seed. I really like Laconia, and Coach, you've seen Laconia also with me. I like them. My only concern with them, and it's a double-edged sword, right? I mean, they're really young, so they may not, realize what they're getting into, but they're really young, so they may not realize what they're getting into. I mean, that you see that go both ways.
No question. I think Laconia, I think their calling card too, even though they're young, is the physicality they bring. And I think, again, when you get into the tournament, games are officiated a little different way, and I think we'll talk more about that on some specific games. But again, can they get over that if they get behind early? That's again where youth sometimes can get the best of you. But again, with Manitowoc Lutheran, again, how much of that game last night going into overtime against Howard's Grove taking away from them?
Right.
And again, Laconia being at home. Again, we talk about this as being the last round of the tournament, that you can have, playing on your home floor. Can they take advantage of that? So, but again, the game we did with Laconia was at Laconia against Grafton, and they got behind early, and it was a fight the whole time. And you expend so much more energy, and I think having veteran players who have been through those situations, especially if that's happened in the tournament, understand you can't get it all back at once. I think better than kids who it's their first time going through it.
Division 4 has got some really interesting number 1s. Mineral Point, Mallory Lindsay and that team, they almost had the gold ball last year. Mishicot edged them out. I think they're kind of like Randolph in that they're just really just on a mission. They want to get back there and this time get over the top. I think, for me, until somebody beats them, they're the number 1 team in Division 4 for a reason. Until somebody beats them, to me, they're the team. A couple things to watch out. Cuba City tonight at Aquinas. We've talked about this. I mean, Aquinas isn't Aquinas of 2 years ago. It's obviously still Dave Donarski is still there. Macy Donarski is there. It's a great team. But Cuba City, Coach Lutz may have something up his sleeve tonight for a tough Aquinas team.
Yeah, I think playing Aquinas, some teams don't get used to that pace that Coach Donarski dictates and the extension of the pressure and the 1-3-1. Obviously, the Aquinas Germantown game was one of the best games we saw at that Watertown tournament early on. So again, it's you're going to see tonight too, I think, across the board, the depth certain teams having to play back-to-back nights. And for 98% of the teams, it'll be their third game in 4 days. So again, will you be able to play with that pace that Aquinas likes to play with? And again, when you look at some of the scores, if we haven't seen the game, it can be a little bit misleading. Did they get some starters rested a little bit earlier, and we're okay to say the score's going to be maybe a little bit closer than it actually was, so that they had their legs for tonight?
Other games, just real quickly, Belleville, Partyville. I've seen Belleville twice. They're a Jekyll and Hyde. If Mickey Stamfel and that group get together and play the way they're capable of, I think they win this. If they played the way they played in the 2 games that we saw them, I think they're in trouble. So we'll have to see what Stamfel and the crew, Coach Farrell's got going for Belleville tonight, as they at home are playing Partyville, which is always a good thing to be able to play at home. We talked about Laconia. I think St. Mary Springs is going to be real solid. We saw them against Belleville earlier this year. Milwaukee Academy of Science, Coach, you saw Milwaukee Academy of Science beat Beaver Dam this year. They're the #1 seed in Sectional 4 of Division 4.
Yeah, and again, a team that can really play fast. And again, can you do that same thing 2 nights in a row? A game in Beaver Dam that was in the 80s in overtime. Again, something you don't see from the defensive side of Beaver Dam, of them giving up 80 points. So, again, Milwaukee Academy of Science has 3 kids who can really score the basketball. Again, it's asking a lot. They had 95 last night. They won 95-37, against Palmyra Eagle. But again, I think it's harder that second night to be able to play at that same type of intensity, much like we talked about with Aquinas.
Agreed. Division 4 is going to be fun to watch. I don't know a lot of these teams on this side of the state. #1 Phillips, we saw them play softball last year. Osseo Fairchild, don't know them. Westfield and St. Mary Catholic. We do know St. Mary Catholic. They'll be very, very strong. Play a Conto tonight. We'll see how that goes. And of course, we saw Bonduelle earlier this year. That game, that Shiocton Bonduelle game, will be fun. I think Shiocton could give them a push. We'll see what happens there. So that's Division 4. Now time for the upset alert for Division 4. Connor, you want to announce it?
Yeah, so the upset alert in Division 4 is going to be Manitowoc Lutheran over Laconia. We kind of hinted at it there at the start, but Laconia, they come in averaging 61 points per game. Manitowoc Lutheran only 50, but come from a Big East that really likes to kind of muck things up and I don't want to say play dirty in a hurtful way, but they just kind of like to slow the game down a little bit and pound the ball inside, and it's not that high pace, high scoring type of game. And if this game's in the 40s or 50s, I can see Manitowoc Lutheran coming out on top, because like I always say, the most dangerous type of kids this time of year are the seniors. And Manitowoc Lutheran is going to go with 4 seniors in that starting lineup that are just looking for one more practice and one more bus ride together. And you mentioned it, the Laconia, pretty young, a lot of freshmen and sophomores that they rely upon. The one thing that I can see that can give Manitowoc Lutheran some trouble, though, is the size and length of Laconia. And also, Laconia is going to go a little bit deeper than Manitowoc Lutheran. So depending on how it's called, you could see an edge into Laconia. But if they let them play and kind of muck it up a little bit, I can see Manitowoc Lutheran coming out on top.
Laconia is going to be solid. I mean, the next 3 years. I mean, they've got a really great freshman class. I just don't know if they're ready to take that step tonight. We'll see. I'm sure they'll prove me wrong, and be sure to gloat about it. Please do. If we're wrong, call us out on it. I totally expect all the girls to do that. So no pride in this. This is just, again, our off the cuff look. That is Division 4. Quick break. We'll come back, get into D3, and see who our upset alert is going to be in Division 3. You're watching Road to the Resch on W7 Live, presented by Jolly Good Soda. We'll be right back.
Ed, are you there?
Yep.
Jolly Good Soda. We put the pop in Wisconsin.
Welcome back to Road to the Resch. We are now on to Division 3. You know, Ed, we're starting to think that maybe you're just like eye candy for today. I mean, don't really have anything to say, but you're just dressing up the set today.
No. That's all right. To hear Coach Sip and hear Connor break everything down, it's great. I don't mind it at all. They are the experts in these teams. As we know, this is not my area of the state, so listening to them has been fantastic, very enlightening.
Well, and we'll definitely get to you when we get into Division 2 and Division 1. I'm looking for my Division 3 sheets. There's one, and there's the other. Okay, good. So getting into D3, again, we're going to focus on the ones that we know, games that I think interesting tonight. Connor, real quick, Freedom and Wrightstown. You know, Wrightstown finally gotten healthy. The question's going to be, do they have the chemistry to be able to pull it together tonight against an undefeated Freedom team?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the big thing. Like you talked about, the chemistry. I just think Freedom is too much. Last year, they kind of got penalized a little bit by having to move up to Division 2, having to play a good Notre Dame in the sectional semifinal. So I think, not that they dropped back down to Division 3, but that's where they always have been. And I think I expect them to take full advantage of it this year and make the short trip into the Resch Center at the end of the year.
That'll be an interesting one tonight to see what kind of attack Wrightstown tries to do against this really solid Freedom team. Altoona playing Elk Mound. Again, I don't know much about the Railroaders. I know Coach Pep. She'll have them ready to go. They're the number 3 playing Elk Mound, the number 2. So that one coming up as well. And then Brilliant and Oostburg. So we'll go ahead and call it earlier. Upset alert, Division 3. Boost the Oost as Oostburg takes on Brilliant. Now, with that said, breaking news today that Alex Voskel is not going to be playing tonight for Oostburg. So that's a concern, obviously, right away without her. She's a senior. But I'll tell you what, they've got a lot of talent on that team. Connor, I think Coach Ketterhagen will get it together and get this team ready to go. And, I think Oostburg is going to give Brilliant all they want and more tonight.
Yeah, Isaiah, great coach, and an unfortunate just little setback for Voskel today. Didn't play with him last night either. But this team doesn't need anything extra rally around. But to rally around a senior that might not be back for the rest of the postseason, and who knows what happens. But if you can just keep playing, and maybe she can come back. More reason to keep fighting for those kids that are out there on the floor. I could see them very easily coming out on top.
Well, and then moving on, Madison Edgewood and Edgerton coach. I mean, we know Coach Stav, obviously, and the Crusaders and Jocko's kids on that Edgewood team as well. I think Stav's going to have this group ready. I think they're going to give Edgerton all they want tonight.
Yeah, played Richland Center last night, and talking to Mike Jocks, he talked about that Richland Center sat in a 1-3-1 zone. They didn't shoot it well. I think if one thing we know is Laura Stavnis is going to have a team ready, and I think it's one of those things that they were able to survive. Again, they have played against some really good teams. Obviously, the Reedsburg Edgewood game that went to overtime, the closest game that Reedsburg's had all year. So again, I think that's one of those situations. A close game maybe was a little bit more of a wake-up call for the Crusaders last night. And again, they'll have to go, on the road this time to get, against a very good Edgerton team that won by 20 over Clinton last night. So again, I think Edgewood always benefits from playing a really tough competitive schedule. They'll play Division I teams. They're obviously in a league that is mostly Division II teams as well as a couple Division I teams to prepare themselves for the Division III playoff run.
Prairie du Chien, solid year in, year out. I expect that they'll take care of Columbus tonight, and the winner of that Edgewood Edgerton game will get Prairie du Chien. Will be my take on it. Prairie du Chien is just a solid program. On the bottom of the bracket, Waupun. We've seen them many times this year taking on the 5th seed Omro. I think Omro is going to have their hands full tonight against a really solid Waupun team.
I think one of the things that probably helped Waupun was losing to Verona, and as crazy as that
and Notre
sounds,
Dame too.
Yeah, and Notre Dame, but the game right before the brackets were already out after and then they played Verona, and again, I think being able to put that together, understanding that senior leadership, they have with Abby and Naomi, Alzma, and then obviously you had the Night Train, and you had, the third Alzma, Lydia Alzma. Again, you got just so much. Grace Gopalin, again, a group, they've got spots at everything. They've got talent in every spot. I think that they're really in a good place where it's a good wake-up call right before the playoffs started.
Night Train, this is for you. Good luck tonight. That's Cale Peterson and the crew, of course, the Alsmas, everybody else. We'll see what happens with Waupun tonight as they take on Omro. Then they'll face the winner, if they win, Kewaskum and Watertown Luther Prep. We've seen Kewaskum earlier this year, Coach. I saw him again when they played Waupun. To me, it comes down to what kind of night does Matty Dogs have. That's going to be critical for Kewaskum's success tonight.
Yeah, they can't be in awe. And they were in awe at home in the Christmas tournament when we saw them versus Beaver Dam. But again, hopefully, those two games. Obviously you mentioned Waupun, you mentioned we talk about the Beaver Dam game. Hopefully those are good to be able to set the table with the experience to get them through tonight.
Luther Prep's got two college-bound basketball players, so I mean they're going to be solid. That's going to be, I think that's going to be a really fun. That's one of the highlights of Division III tonight is this Luther Prep and Kewaskum game. On the other side of the bracket, Kettle Moraine Lutheran and Milwaukee School of Languages. The one thing I really admire about Coach Jason at Kettle Moraine Lutheran, he will play anybody, anywhere, anytime. I mean, and Coach Raue, you and I both know Jason over there. I mean, it's a great program, and watch out for KML this year, right? You saw him against Germantown earlier this year, Coach.
Year in and year out. Yes, I did. Yeah, year in and year out. They put together a good program. You know exactly what you're going to get every game, which is a good, strong, fundamentally strong team. And yet, when you watch them play, you go, okay, nothing stands out. Then you look up at the score. If it's in game, they're up 10. If you're just watching on film, they're up 10. You're like, what have they done that makes it so special? They just execute very, very well, and they make you make mistakes. If you can somehow avoid the mistakes, you can knock them off. But it's really tough to do because they are a good, strong, efficient team.
And it's a tough place to go into. I mean, they get a really great turnout for their games. I expect there'll be a strong turnout tonight for the Chargers as they take on MSL. Down at the bottom of the bracket, Lake Mills Catholic Memorial. Coach Raue, you and I have kind of had a front row seat to this. Catholic Memorial is really in a tough spot, just with losing their coaching staff right before the playoffs started. They were 8-3 in the conference in the Classic 8, and then there was the turmoil with the coaches, and they lost 5 in a row. They did beat Jefferson last night, but they're going to have their hands full with a pretty solid Lake Mills team tonight.
Well, again, it's a really strong Lake Mills team, as you mentioned, but let's give credit to Catholic Memorial. It seems like they're now starting to round into shape. They've kind of gotten over what has happened. It was a nice win last night. That was a very nice win, and, it's something that Connor touched on earlier. It's just another practice. It's another opportunity to play together. And you never know how teams are going to rally and how and when they're going to put it all together. But this Catholic Memorial team has the talent to knock teams off. So I don't think this is a game that Lake Mills can look past.
Yeah, agree. Martin Luther taking on Lakeside Lutheran. Martin Luther, you and I have both seen them, Ed. I mean, they're a solid team. Coach Corey's got it going with that team there. They're gonna be a tough out.
Every time Corey steps on the floor with his team, you're going to get every imaginable defense you could come up with. He makes things up, I think, on the bus on the way to games. You never know what you're going to get with the guy, and it makes it really tough to play them. They always come out with so many different looks and different plays, different sets, different defenses. Every game is different and really keeps you on your toes.
There's your Division III breakdown. We are going to take a break and come back with D2, talks of Notre Dame girls basketball, and a couple games in progress right now that we'll see if we can get updates on as well. You're watching Road to the Resch on W7 Live. We'll be right back.
Yeah, I got Beaver Dam up 58-41, so they're going to advance.
Welcome back to Road to the Resch on W7. We're live from Randolph High School in advance of tonight's triple header on W7. Coach Tsipis and I will be right here for Randolph hosting Sheboygan Lutheran, Ed and Scott Raue in Germantown for Germantown Hartford, and then Conor DuBoyce and Joey Bonadonna live from Green Bay, Notre Dame for Notre Dame Academy as they host, it just totally left me. Menasha.
Menasha.
Yeah, too many things going on here. So let's get into Division II. We've hit the first three. We're going to save our upset alert till the end tonight on this one, so we'll come back to it. But let's start with, first of all, in sectionals 1 and 2, we don't have a lot of experience with those teams. I know Mosinee has had a fantastic year. New London, Connor, did you see New London play this year? I'm trying to remember if you saw them or not.
I can't remember if I did or not, but I mean, they can come out of a very a good Bay conference with Xavier and West De Pere, battle tested at the top there. They have a chance. I just think the long bus ride is going to get them on a night like tonight.
Yeah. On the other side, let's talk about your game tonight, Connor. Notre Dame and Menasha. Notre Dame coming off a 74-17 win over Coach Schmidt's Luxembourg Casco team. What do you expect to see tonight from Menasha? They defeated Ashwaubenon 56-33 last night to advance to get to play Notre Dame.
Yeah. I mean, it's always interesting, right? Because if you're a Notre Dame team, you know you're probably going to see one of these teams. So throughout the week, you're able to kind of get a little bit of scout in. But both of them, Menasha and Ashwaubenon, are putting all their eggs in the one basket in the last night's game. And you've got a real quick turnaround. And they come in here against a very good Notre Dame team. The key to the game for me is going to be, can they handle the pressure? If you don't turn the ball over against Notre Dame, you have a chance, but you're going to have to shoot very well. But if you turn the ball over, you can't give Notre Dame a 15 to 20 points a night off their transition.
Well, and that's the challenge, right? Is not turning the ball over against all that pressure that comes at you from the Tritons, and Coach Rhodey will have them ready to go tonight. I think Notre Dame is going to be just fine, and I will see. That one's live on W7. And then West De Pere, Fox Valley Lutheran. Connor, you and I have kind of batted this around. Give me your thoughts on that one. I think this is maybe the game of the night in Division II.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting battle because FVL, they've got some kids that can bang inside, and then West De Pere, they're a little bit more perimeter-oriented team with a great dribble drive offense and kick out to the open shooter. So West De Pere gets shots to fall. This could be a very interesting game to watch to see who will get the winner of our game here, Notre Dame and Menasha. But if shots aren't falling for West De Pere, which is a very young team as well, I definitely give the edge to FVL.
Should be a fun one night. We saw them play very, very well against a solid Wrightstown team.
Oh, yeah, definitely. That the scores got that one, so I'm going to have that one up on the side, kind of listening to it here a little bit.
Yeah. And then Beaver Dam actually playing Grafton right now. That one started at 4 o'clock. The last score I heard was Beaver Dam 58, Grafton 41 in the second half. It looks like Beaver Dam is going to move on against Grafton and advance on to the sectionals. They're going to meet the winner of Slinger and Cedarburg, and my buddy Ava Beaudry from Slinger is at Cedarburg tonight. I've been giving me updates via direct message, and the last one she gave me was Cedarburg 45, Slinger 36 with 9:50 to go in the second half. It was a 16-5 start. At halftime, it was 35-18. So in the second half, Slinger has made a pretty solid comeback. This is exactly what happened when they played Cedarburg at Slinger on senior night at Slinger. So we'll see if the Lady Owls can close the gap and maybe pull off a big upset against a really solid Cedarburg team with Claire Diener and Reagan Paul and the group there, and the Strobley kid as well. So see what happens with that one. Those two, the winner of that meets most likely Beaver Dam, unless something crazy happens there. It looks like that's going to be the case. Coach, we've seen him several times. Reedsburg has got a match with McFarland, and first of all, I'm surprised that the McFarland Sauk Prairie game was 47-45. That to me, that doesn't bode super well for them tonight as they take on Reedsburg.
No, and I think Reedsburg is really understanding what their goal's been all year. As much as you can talk about getting that return to the Resch Center, I think they've been really good at taking care of each and every game and not playing outside of who they are. And again, I think the Edgewood game was a good game for them. They had to be able to execute down the stretch. There's one thing I can't tell you the score. I just know that there won't be Teagan time the way that there was a couple games.
Right.
Speaking of the talented sophomore,
51 in a game this year.
Yeah,
she won't get 51 tonight.
She's going to have a lot of different defenders thrown at her, and I think we talk about offensively, Reedsburg can always score or create a shot from all 5 spots on the floor, and I think that's what makes them so dangerous. Is they're going to figure out your weakness defensively, man or zone, and really look to exploit that. And that's a credit to this group has played together. They took their lumps as freshmen and sophomores, and now you have the group of seniors, 10 seniors on that group. Obviously, with help with sophomores like Charney, and obviously looking up to her older sister, so Sydney Charney, and then Trenna Charney, and a guy obviously with Macy and Mara again to be able to I just think they're a really tough out. I think they're, to me, still that crash course between Reedsburg and Notre Dame again. I think just seeing those teams play are 2 of the finest we have in the state.
And my guess, knowing Coach Simon, is he'll put Macy Wipperman on Teagan Mullaney. Now, let me just say that Teagan Mullaney is a heck of a basketball player. So,
no
let's not slight her at all. But Macy Wipperman is a heck of a defender, and that's the chess match of this game tonight. Is how does Macy do against Teagan? And
even if Teagan's plus 10 scoring or whatever it is,
right,
then you go 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 and 7 even for Reedsburg on kids who can win those battles. So again,
and they're going to shuffle kids playing on Teagan also. So Teagan's got to go 110% for the whole 36 minutes. Wipperman will come in. Cherney will come in. I would say the kid with the red shoes. I can't remember her name right off the top of my head. That comes in, Ruby Olson, who comes in. She's solid too. So, Reedsburg, we'll see. That team, to me, just seems so focused, and they've got such big personalities on that team. Huge personalities. So I guarantee you, the Coach Simon has said, hey, I don't have to discipline these kids. They kick each other's butt, if all of them aren't performing. So they'll take care of business there tonight. Mackenzie Bester as well on that team. So good luck to both teams, and we'll see what happens there. DeForest, Monona Grove. We talked about Monona Grove had beaten Stoughton last night. DeForest was able to knock off a pretty solid Oregon team. I'm surprised they won that by 10. Monona Grove beat Stoughton by 11. Thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's, with those games going on, Monona Grove beat them during the regular season, but DeForest has gotten some good wins. They beat Wanakee down the stretch, and so I think they've got a different level of confidence right now. Monona Grove, I do think, has gone through, they get revenge on Brad Pickett's Stoughton team, that Stoughton had beaten them earlier about 2 weeks ago, not even that long. At Stoughton, they get the revenge to move forward. So, again, a DeForest team that is going to stretch the floor with their pressure, and they're going to shoot the 3. And again, it's something you look at and say, is that a possibility right there with 2 teams that kind of know each other to be able to upset them, and both playing in the Badger Conference. And again, if DeForest shoots the ball well and can contain Avery Poole, we've seen that's what really gives Monona Grove some issues. Obviously, Avery going to play for Brad Fisher at Oshkosh next year. We saw they didn't play their best. They were without, their head coach in Tyler Cool. And, when we had the Badger Challenge.
Yes.
So, again, I think that's one that I've got circled as could go really either way.
Ed, Waukesha West playing with Scotia Central. First of all, Waukesha West beat Milton by 30, and, Milton's had an up-and-down year, but that's pretty impressive. They put up 82 points playing with Scotia Central, who beat Fort Atkinson by 28. You and I have talked about West in the past. When they get all the Pistons kind of firing together, that's a pretty solid team.
This is one of the scariest number 2 seeds not only in Division II, but across the state. This is a team that, like you said, when they're firing, they can beat anybody. They've got size, they've got outside shooting, they've got great ball handlers, they play strong defense. It's a team that if they put it together, that could be dangerous. But you got to get past with Social Central tonight, and they're going to get tested.
Yep, and that's at Waukesha West tonight. On the other side of the bracket, Pius plays Wisconsin Lutheran. Pius defeated Wauwatosa East last night. Wisco over Goldemere. Pius again with Tori Kostic and with Maya Moore being seniors. Ed, we've seen them several times this year. I think Tori and Maya is going to have them ready to go, and then of course Tess Wiesek and the crew. I think they're going to be a tough match for Wisco tonight.
I don't think they're going to have any problems tonight. That's a team that's, especially those seniors, as you mentioned, they are really focused. We saw that last weekend doing that final game of the regular season. In the second half, Maya Moore just decided she was going to take over, and there was nothing that was stopping her. She got every single rebound. She was using every move on the block, left shoulder, right shoulder, drop steps. It was really impressive to watch her play. It's almost as if at halftime, Coach Herrick reminded her, hey, this is your last regular season game. Go out and show everybody. And she took it to heart because she had a monster second half.
She did. I want to skip down real quick. That's the two quick games. Pewaukee, New Berlin West. New Berlin West, Coach, we saw them play New Berlin Eisenhower. It was definitely not their best game. But I looked at their schedule. They've actually played better since then. They played Pewaukee twice. First time they lost, I believe, by 27. This last time by 21. Again, I'm just going off the top of my head here. Megan Schultz going to have a big game tonight, a big night. And Ed, you and I talked about this. I mean, Pewaukee's going to have to get in foul trouble in order to give New Berlin West a chance to win this game.
Yeah, Pewaukee has arguably, they go 6 strong, 7 deep. They don't go deep into their bench, but if they're on the floor and they don't get into foul trouble, it's something I think Coach Reuter's really stressed. And they don't get into foul trouble. They don't make those silly mistakes. And that's what makes them so dangerous. And then you throw in Amy and Anna Terrian. They are dangerous. They don't play like freshmen. They never have, and they never will. And they are next-level players.
What a season those twins are having at Pewaukee. It's been fun to watch that. I can't wait to see the next 3 years with this group. And by the way, Mom is a University of Nebraska alum, a tennis star at UNL. Go Big Red. But that'll be interesting tonight. And then the other one, this one is a little under the radar, but I think, New Berlin Eisenhower is the number 3. South Milwaukee is the number 2. I got to say, to me, that seems kind of flipped around. I would say Ike is probably the favorite in this one. But that South Milwaukee team has got a group of seniors that have played together a long time. Caitlin Bailing and that group, the Asphalts kid, they're going to be a tough out. That to me is a very intriguing game, that Ike and South Milwaukee game. Ed, what's your thoughts on that?
South Milwaukee's a really tough team. I think, again, strong number 2 seed. Obviously, opposite Pewaukee, they deserve to be the 2, but I think what you didn't mention is they've been playing very good basketball about the last month or so. They kind of flipped a switch, and they turned into a different team, whereas New Berlin Eisenhower kind of gone backward just a little bit the last month. So there's that opportunity, I think, for South Milwaukee to carry on and play what we think is going to be Pewaukee.
And here is our upset alert of the night. Here it is. Y'all ready? Our upset alert: Wauwatosa West, the number 6 seed, to down Whitefish Bay, number 2. Ed, what's your read on that? Obviously, you're close to the Tosa West program.
Well, it's a team that's really starting to peak now. They did this a year ago when they go into a Friday night regional semifinal and they knock off a Brookfield Central team that nobody predicted. I think tonight that's carrying that same type of weight. It's a team that's starting to really understand who they are. They lost their leading scorer, Taylor Lawrence, in a game against Brook East, in a game that was back and forth. It was a very close game. She went out in the game that kind of let the air out of the balloon. And it took them a while to recover from that, figuring out who was going to do the scoring, who was going to take over for that attack personality that Taylor had. And it's been the group of sophomores, Anna Maria Luna, Molly Frost, and Elise Wendler, who had 15 rebounds last night. Those 3 sophomores has really stepped up their games. And I think the player tonight that's going to be key to Tosa West is if they can get bench minutes from Abby Myrtle. another sophomore. If she can give them some big minutes, I think they can really, really cause problems for Coach Schneider and the Whitefish Bay team.
There's your Division II breakdown. Before we go to break, I want to just thank our sponsors tonight. Of course, Jolly Good Soda. We put the pop in Wisconsin. JVB financial advisor, Jay Van Busicom, has been a great supporter of ours all year. The Hupke team, great realtors, #1 in the state for small teams in Wisconsin. As I say, Coach, you will not find better representation than the Hupke team. JenniferHupke.com, and then the Walbec group. They're actively looking to hire women in their organization. It's professional road construction, so it's not just pouring asphalt. I mean, it's engineers, it's drafters. It's a very big company. They do a lot of things. So check them out, WalbecGroup.com. Quick break and come back, and we'll wrap it up with D1, the big one coming next. You're watching The Road to the Resch on W7. We'll be right back.
Jolly Good Soda. We put the pop in Wisconsin.
Welcome back, Road to the Resch on W7. We're going to wrap this thing up. I know Ed's going to get on his way over to Germantown for a big matchup tonight. Connor and I and Coach Zip already in our gyms here. So let's get right into D1 right away. Ed, I mean, the elephant in the room, no pun intended, I mean, has got to be Hortonville. To me, I mean, they're the class of D1 right now.
We saw them very early on. Actually, I think it was the first game of the season, and immediately we saw a team that was laser focused on winning a state title. This is not about beating whoever their opponent is. This is about winning state. It's a team we saw last year, and we talked about it numerous times last year. Hortonville, Germantown, that first half of that game on New Year's Eve last year was one of the best first halves of any type of basketball we've ever seen on W7. Just a great back and forth affair. And then Germantown flipped a switch at halftime. Jalen Acker hit some threes from the logos and kind of changed things. But I think that was the kind of what Hortonville realized, hey, we can still win this thing next year. And I think that's their focus this year.
Well, High Octane and the crew will be ready to go tonight for sure. They'll take it on the Hudson team. This is not the state runner-up from last year. I know Hudson lost a lot of kids last year. They're the number 8 seed coming in. They're going to have their hands full with Hortonville tonight. Nina and Wausau West. On the surface, to me, it looks like a solid win for Nina, but they beat Spash by 6 points last night, which kind of surprises me. Coach, we saw Spash earlier this year. If he'd put them and Nina together, I would think Nina wins that handily, but not the case. And again, sometimes just the postseason is different than a regular season. I mean, it's a different beast.
You know, and again, with Coach Brunel, without us seeing that game, was it a 6-point game that was a 1-point game?
Right.
And there's fouls at the end, or is it something where
it was a 15-point game?
He pulled some people early,
right.
and again, you know, obviously Ali Zabel is an unbelievable scorer. He's got to get contribution from other places. We've seen when they lost to, Appleton East, when they lost at Appleton East, they didn't get contributions. And you saw, I think, probably one of the few times we've seen, and just with her maturity as a sophomore, and Ali Zabel get frustrated. Then they go in and they beat Appleton East when the game goes back to Nina. So maybe one of those where, again, that was a good wake-up call last night, I would think. And knowing Coach Brunel will do a lot of different things. Maybe he kept some things close to the vest last night to change some defenses. We saw that earlier in the season when Nina played, against a peer. So again, I think that one, again, I still would, favor Nina.
You talked about Appleton East. Let's just go right to that. Appleton East playing Kimberly tonight, and of course, this is not the Kimberly team from last year. A lot of youth there. Mackenzie Drought leads that team. It'll be interesting to see, but I gotta believe Appleton East with La Chapelle and Hansford and the crew. They're gonna.
Last time, Emily La Chapelle will play at Appleton East, in her own home gym, and I think she's one of those kids. She will figure out to will her team to a win no matter what. And obviously, Lily Hansford's last game. You have people like Josie Neubauer and Logan Lowry as well. And then I think the underrated player on that team is Sammy Byer.
No question.
When Sammy didn't play well, obviously foul trouble against
Absolutely.
Louisville.
Yep.
She is that third scorer.
Yeah.
And I really think, again, Connor and I had a Kimberly game that, to be honest, I think is a outlier. Appleton East was really mad. They just lost to Nina, and they kind of took it out on Kimberly at Kimberly. So, again, I think you'll see a closer game when they played earlier. But again, they played twice down the stretch. Appleton East won handily both those games, and I think they'll do the same tonight.
So that's that one on the Ed. We're gonna get to your big one coming up in a little bit, but let's skip down first. Let's talk Homestead. Homestead DSHA. All I can think of is Ed and Connor both coming back to us during the Kettle Moraine tournament and said, "Have you seen Homestead?" And I'm like, Homestead? What are you talking about? And I thought maybe it was an anomaly. That is not an anomaly. That is one solid team. Coach Wolf's got it going on with the Lady Highlanders over there. Ed, your take on Homestead? And you saw him right just a couple weeks ago.
I did. I'm very impressed. This is a team that plays very similar to Germantown of a year ago, where every pass is deflected and challenged. You're not catching anything going to the hoop. Everything is moving away from the hoop. You think you have a breakaway, and yet there's a body there all of a sudden. It's as if they have 6, 7, 8 players on the floor at times. And then on offense, they'll go with stretches, and I think that's the youth they're still working out, but they'll go stretches where they don't score, but they go in stretches where they start filling it too. They'll score 10 in 45 seconds too, knocking down some threes, getting a steal and a layup. So it's very similar to last year's Germantown team. The one thing holding them back maybe this year is that youth.
Yeah.
But that's a really impressive team.
I put them in the same bucket as Laconia in that I think when everything's working, they're going to be really, really tough to beat. I'm just not sure if they're ready for it this year. And it's a 2-7 game, but can you ever really count out DSHA? I mean, I don't think you can. I think Coach Hendricks, if they get it together, I think they can play with anybody.
Absolutely, and this will be a great measuring stick for Homestead. If they can pull this one off, they go into Thursday with a lot of confidence. And flip side of that is DSHA. I mean, this is a veteran coach who's taken his team deep. Like you said, this is a good measuring stick for Homestead. I think that's more of what we'll take from this game.
Yeah, DSHA and the made it to state in 2020. Of course, COVID took care of that. And then last year lost in the sectional finals to Franklin, who went on to state, Olivia Rangel and the crew there. So, again, I just don't think you could ever count the Dashers out. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes tonight. The winner of that game is going to meet the winner of De Pere and Sheboygan North. And for our resident De Pere expert, the guy lived in the nest all year. Connor, thoughts about De Pere? What should we expect to see from the Redbirds tonight against Sheboygan North?
Well, going back to the beginning of the year and that early loss that they took to Germantown, and Germantown hung 105 on them, that's kind of been a little bit of a rallying cry. If you follow them on social media, they got the hashtag 105, and ever since that point, they know they had to get better defensively if they want to be considered in the mix at the end of the year. And, defensively, when they can lock in defensively, they're a pretty darn good team. They nearly knocked off Notre Dame right here to close the season out and earn a share of the FRCC title. There was a final of 61-60. So if they can get locked in defensively and get some shots to fall, a player to watch right now is the sophomore Claire Biori, having a heck of a sophomore campaign.
Yeah, she
and
is
really catching fire at the right time.
Well, and they play Sheboygan North tonight. North defeated Riverside 88-52. De Pere defeated Sheboygan South 72-38. So that one tonight at De Pere, and they'll meet the winner of that game meets the winner of Homestead and DSHA. Up on the top side of the bracket, Kaukauna playing Milwaukee King tonight. Coach, you kind of said it. I mean, King seems to play to their competition level. We've seen that a couple times tonight. What do you think Coach Young and the crew have in store tonight for the Ghosts?
Well, I think they've got to be able to get it into a transition up-tempo game. That's when King's at its best. They have really athletic bigs. They have guards that can get to the rim. I think what you see a lot in talking to Coach Young, and obviously having, coached his daughter at Madison, is they're really struggling for not having access last year and not playing any games. And you also talk about not having a youth program with the way the kids are divided into school. I think we saw that in both of those, and I think where it shows they're just not very consistent. Yeah. They can look like a state-bound team in a 5-minute span, but we saw them lose big leads in both games. And again, so I think Kaukauna, again, the more the consistency, if this is a game that's really high scoring, I think that favors King. If it's a game where I think it'll probably be in the 50s, I think Kaukauna will win that game. So again, can somebody step up from King and have a consistent game and kind of put them on their, put the team on their back?
Let's talk Warhawks basketball. Dad, I'm sure you probably got to go after this. Let's talk Germantown, Hartford. I'm just going to let you go. Tell me about this game and about this Germantown team.
They're starting to play better defensively. It's taken most of the season, and it's no coincidence that they got Gretchen McNeil back. She's kind of the linchpin defensively. That allows them to, ramp up the pressure. They can get out in the break, and then you get KK Arnold in the open floor. There's nobody better in the state. The interesting thing with tonight's game, the sub-story, is Coach Vinny Daniels coming back to Germantown, former assistant at Germantown, bringing his Orioles of Hartford to play in this game. So he's going to know every trick that Coach Stuvey has. Not that most teams don't already, because you know what you're getting when you're going against the Coach Stuvey team. But it'll be real interesting to see how the Orioles respond.
Well, I'll be curious to see what kind of game McKenna Christian has tonight for Hartford, but they got their hands full with Germantown tonight. There's no question about that. That game live on W7
no
tonight
doubt.
at 7. Wrapping up Division 1, Brookfield East playing Economowoc tonight. Economowoc beat Sussex Hamilton by 17 last night, and they really jumped out quick, got a good start, and maybe upset alert sort of with Brookfield East. They're not the ones that we're picking for an upset alert, but maybe they could be at risk tonight against a pretty solid Economowoc team. Yeah, I'm gonna switch this up here. I think we lost Ed. So we'll have to see what happens with them.
I'm still here, Coach.
Oh, Ed's still with us. We lost his video, but all right. That's fine. We'll leave you on audio. Ed, I mean, your thoughts? Does Economowoc, can Economowoc take Brook East to the wire tonight, do you think?
It's going to be a challenge. Brook East is pretty solid. It's a strong team that's starting to play a lot better together. And again, it's a team that's gone up against some of the state's best. So I really think they're going to have their hands full. But if there's a team tonight that could pull that off, let's give credit to Economowoc. It was a big win last night. They are really clicking on all cylinders right now. It should be a fun test.
Yeah, I think Annika Plemer is tough to beat. I think her and the Platts kid and McGath and of course the TikTok ninja Shea Kelly.
Shea Kelly, let's give credit where credit's due. Shea Kelly's really come into her own as a sophomore, and she plays just like her father. Where they just win. They just know how to win.
Yeah, agree. Verona Waunakee, Coach. Obviously, that's closer to your side of the state. Thoughts on Coach Murphy taking on the Waunakee Warriors tonight?
Yeah, I think it'll come down to how do Verona's guards break Waunakee's pressure defense. And, I think these Verona kids have a great belief. Only really down the stretch lost to La Follette, who had won 12 in a row, tied with Sun Prairie for the Big 8 championship. They've got a good post player in Paige Lamb inside. It'll be a good, kind of you look across the board. Again, I think Verona has had that experience. Wanakee, won against Madison East last night, but again, not playing as good a basketball as they were kind of mid-January to the beginning of February. So again, I think, can Verona break that pressure? They're not going to beat themselves in the half court, and they're going to get the right people shots. And, it's a tribute. I think these kids have a lot of belief on that run they made to the state tournament last year. All that group is back, and they've kind of figured out how to play, without Taylor Stremlow, and now they've gotten a couple kids back. Lexi Stremlow's back, so they've got a little bit more depth. So I definitely can see that, even though it's at Wanakee, that the Wildcats could prevail on that game.
Interesting game. You talked about La Follette already, but I wanted to go back on that. Arrowhead, La Follette. La Follette beat Brookfield Central last night 61-38. They're the 10 seed, and Brookfield Central the 7 seed. So I'm surprised, not surprised that La Follette won. They're a solid team, but surprised they won by 23 points. But again, when you get that momentum going and start running downhill, that's tough to stop for other teams to stop them.
Yeah, and I think this is a situation where in the first year and the computer's figuring everything out. There's no way a computer can figure out when you've lost games and you've had an ineligible player, and now you've won 12 in a row, and you finish a few few places down in the conference. I got to see La Follette last Saturday and senior day at Middleton, and what I can tell you is, if this game is called tightly, it really puts a lot of pressure on Arrowhead, because La Follette has 3 players who can get to the rim, starting, I think even with Pruitt is the best of the 3. Obviously, Aaliyah Smith is so talented, can score from inside and out, and they play with the chip on their shoulder, that they were counted out, and, they played with 6 players in a lot of the games. Again, it's great to see Arrowhead has Elena Harper back. We didn't see her, in that game against Germantown. And I think, again, it's one of those situations where some of those other kids, good to see Abby Roble played last night after she got, knocked in the head in that game. So, again, I think how the game's officiated, and again, in the tournament, it tends to be a little bit close, a little tighter, a little quicker whistle. But that's going to be a great game. Obviously, Arrowhead, if they can keep that momentum and I think keep the tempo down, Coach Whitty's so good. I think at kind of being able to understand it, to take it and make people make mistakes, make possessions a little bit longer. They've been able to win those kind of games against teams that maybe have more athletes on the outside. And again, I think you've got some players like Taylor Timish that are playing their best basketball of the year.
And Harp's going to get hers. To me, the key on that one tonight for Arrowhead is, the outside shooting. What kind of night does Bella Sams have? What kind of night does Sarah Larson have? If they can, and maybe even Erica Bubb. I mean, if they can get that outside shot going, La Follette's going to have their hands full, because Harp's going to get hers already. But if with that combination, they're going to be a tough team to beat.
Yeah, and I think one of the things La Follette will be caught with is they switch a lot in their man-to-man, and they get caught with bad mismatches inside, and get caught with 5'4" and 5'6" kids on post players. You can't do that with Elena Harper. You just put that on the board and go to the other end. And again, can they pressure enough up front that if there is a mismatch, they can help before the ball ever gets down there? Because if it gets down there, you can send a second, maybe a third person, but I think she's going to be up into her shot before you can do anything else.
Okay, I'm going to come back to Sun Prairie and Watertown, but real quick, just to round out the bracket here in Division 1, Kettle Moraine Racing Case. Racing Case has no chance to win this game tonight. I mean, Kettle Moraine is they're so talented. There's so many weapons. This team, again, one of those teams that you got to say is really super focused. They've all been playing together since they were like freshmen, with Gurkowski's a junior, Lily Rangard a senior, Braylon Torres a junior, Isabel Walschlager back and playing as well. I think that it's going to be tough for anybody to knock out Kettle Moraine. Racing Case won't be able to do that tonight. KM will play the winner of Janesville Craig Kenosha Bradford. You and I have seen Kate Hummel play for Craig. I think Craig is one of the under the radar teams this year that I don't think people are expecting, and I think they're going to cause some problems and could definitely could be a really, really interesting matchup next Thursday. Kettle Moraine and Janesville Craig at Waukesha South.
Yeah, they've got 3 scores, and I think, again, you can do a lot of things to take 1 away and 2 away, but again, Kate Hummel, not only is the leading 3-point shooter in the state, she's a willing distributor as well. And again, I think that, not knowing much about Kenosha Bradford, you have to be able to score against the 2-3 zone. Janesville Craig is going to be able to really work with that. I saw them, about 2 weeks ago, that Middleton shot them out of the zone a little bit, and they went man, and they looked a little more comfortable than I would have expected. So, again, I think it's a team that knows each other. The thing with Janesville Craig is I don't think they try to play outside themselves, and I think that come tournament time is a huge advantage.
Franklin taking on Kenosha Indian Trail. It's really simple for Franklin. Mo and Roginski have to have big nights tonight. I think that they're, Indian Trail could cause problems for them. We'll see. But if Mo plays well and Roginski plays well, Taylor, I think they'll be fine. McWanago, Oak Creek, again, Coach Lucknick, no matter what happens during the course of the year, that team, Oak Creek, could go 0-19 or 0-24. When you get into the postseason, it's a different team. And Coach Lucknick he's one of those. I've been there. I've done that. I know what I'm doing. They're always going to be a tough out. I think that they handle McWanago tonight and set up a really great rematch at Kettle Moraine on Thursday with Oak Creek at Franklin.
Yeah, and again, how much does McWanago have left in the tank after the overtime game last night?
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Last one. Coach, I'm going to let you take the lead on this one. Give us our upset alert tonight.
Well, we're talking about Sun Prairie and Watertown, and if you're asking why, I think it's the difference in Watertown playing the 1-3-1. And the beginning of the year, new pieces in it and everything. But, I'm going to go with
the
Lady Goslings.
Woo!
Lady Goslings. And again, this is a very talented Sun Prairie team, and if they won, I would not be shocked. Led by the juniors, Avery, Anthony Austin, and Murray Outlay. The concern I have is just watching how much Watertown's improved. And again, in this 1-3-1, they've won 9 of 11. They've won 14 of 17. Nobody's been able to get past 54 points except for Beaver Dam. Those are 2 of those 3 losses. And again, Watertown was up 10 at halftime against Beaver Dam. Common opponents kind of throw it out the window. Both teams beat Monona Grove by 9. Sun Prairie won back right before Christmas, 44-35. On December 21st, Watertown won at the end of January, 48-39. I just think it's a different dynamic, and you have seniors, Lily Gifford and Riley Quinn. I think the matchup man-to-man, I'd be really curious to see who Avery Anthony guards, because she's been they've put her on somebody and she's taken that person out. She's taken, I've seen it twice where she's guarded Audrey Deptula, who's going to Loyola of Illinois from Middleton and just make that person struggle. I would not be shocked if they do put Avery Anthony on Lily Euler, because Lily's going to have the ball in her hands a lot.
Lily goes to the line
guard.
a lot, too.
She does. It's a little different situation here, I think, with Lily having somebody that physical and willingness to get up into her. It's a big challenge for the sophomore. But, again, it's something I think more of the defense that Watertown and Coach Stolberg's been able to do. It just, to me, I watched the game last year when they took Arrowhead down to the wire in a really low-scoring game. If Sun Prairie can turn them over and score in transition, I just think it's really hard. They cause a ton of deflections. They average 14.7 steals per game, does Watertown. And they're also really good at forcing you to take quick rush shots because you've broken the 1-3-1 a little bit that maybe are a little bit out of your comfort zone.
It'll be, to me, what's going to be curious is how long does it take Terrell Outlay and Coach Anthony to get the word to Avery and Marie that they're being disrespected here. I know that's all a jest, right? But how many times will we hear Marie for 3 tonight? I mean, that's going to be a big question. Yeah. Avery Anthony's got to play big tonight. They're going to have their hands full. Drew Heinrichs is having a really nice season at Watertown also. But to me, That's a really great game. So Terrell, if it happens, sorry. If it doesn't happen, I'm telling you, feel free to gloat as much as you possibly can and tell us we were way off on this one. But we'll see what happens tonight. Good luck to the Lady Goslings and of course the Cardinals as well. That is our show for tonight. We ran a little bit longer than I thought, but that's okay. We're going to do this again next week prior to Thursday night and then hopefully prior to Saturday as well. So you have been watching the Road to the Resch. We lost Conor DuBoyce. We lost Ed Raue. They had to go get ready. Their game's ready to go for tonight. You got us. Again, triple header tonight on W7. 3 games for you to choose from. Hartford, Germantown, Ed Raue and Scott Raue on that one. Menasha against Notre Dame, Conor DuBoyce and Joey Bonadonna on that one. And, of course, Sheboygan Lutheran and Randolph, myself and Jonathan Tsipis live on that one. We are about an hour 7 from tip-off for all 3 games. Enjoy the games tonight. If you're out and about and you got scores, updates, send them to us. Tag us on Twitter, ProductionsW7 to us, or put hashtag WIAGB or WISGB, and we'll be watching those too. So hey, good luck to all the teams tonight, and we'll see what happens, and get ready for some really great basketball tonight. Coach, as always, been an honor, and we'll get ready to go.
Here we go. Can't wait.
And of course, lastly, the most important thing.